Hello, I'm Sean Murray, and this is The Conversation, where we take an alternative look at political events and current affairs through an Irish lens. In this show, we hope to pick, probe, investigate and uncover the stories that you want to hear. We go where mainstream won't go. Joe Doherty's story could have been written by a best-selling novelist, except that his experiences are real and he has lived to tell the story. A man that has no qualms in labelling himself a former guerrilla fighter, he has, like so many, made a major contribution to peace. Joe, you were telling us in part one about your earlier experiences, your Republican background with your grandfather, moving on to your arrests, the big arrest in 1980 when SAS man Herbert Westmacott was killed. Then your detention again for the third time in Crumlin Road Jail, and then the escape. So tell me, after the escape, what had happened? How did you then, where did you go from Belfast? Obviously you had to sit tight for a while in Belfast.
Well, I had to sit tight for about 2 weeks because the army was everywhere. Every area was saturated. Even into my ma's house, look at me. My ma says, well, he's not here. Obviously, he's not here. They just said, we'll have to search your house. We waited a week and then they told us, you're getting moved across the border. I can't technically say how we got across. It was in a lorry. We got stopped twice at the border. You could hear all the English voices and searching. They were putting bayonets in, that sort of thing. You know, you see in the Great Escape film. We were just sitting there, me, Pete, and Angelo Fusco. We were lying there, you could hear all the Brits' voices and putting the bayonets in. They were kicking and lifting stuff out. But I can't explain, but they couldn't find us there. So we finally got across the border in the Monaghan, get a farmhouse. We got out, we were all bleary-eyed because we were in the dark for about 4 hours with all the travelling, and got out, and that was in Monaghan. And we were across the border, so you felt a wee bit safer in relation to the British Army, just a couple of 100 yards up the road. We were held there, then we were sent down to Dublin. Bodenstown was on, so we went to Bodenstown. It was safe enough, tens of thousands of Republicans around, so we met each other. I just so happened to have a sister who was in Tralee in County Kerry, so my other sister was down, so we drove down there. I don't know where the lads went. Everybody kind of scattered. They were looking for us. They'd wanted posters up everywhere across the north and particularly in the south. Because Paul McGee got up and made a speech at Bodenstown, and that really pissed off the Free Staters. So they were on the hunt, so we had to scatter. I stayed in Tralee for a while, about a year. I was sent to different parts of the country for active service, but they couldn't use us. A lot of the in Limerick, no, we can't use you. You're too hot. Went up to Donegal, you're too hot and stuff like that there. Sometimes you think you're across the border and that's it and you're safe. But within 5 months, there was 6 of the lads who escaped were recaptured. Like Robert Campbell, I think, was the first one. And
was this in the south?
In the south, yeah. Within a couple of months, they were all gone. So the thing was only me and Jerry Stone.
So this suggesting that the Free State was a haven for RA men?
No, well, there was a lot, because of the hunger strikes, there was a lot of stuff that was going on, of course, and a lot of activities, the attacks on the British Embassy and stuff in Dublin when Bobby Sands and all that, remember that sort of thing was going on. They were coming right down on us. The 6 of them were arrested. I think one of the Sloans was in Cork, and Robert was in Dundalk, and Dingus and Fusco were caught in County Kerry and stuff. So somebody came to me and said, we're gonna get you out of the country. Going over to America. You know, initially I didn't want to go, like what I want to go for, but well, what are you going to do? All you're going to do, you're going to be in Portlaoise within the next couple of weeks because they're looking for you. They know you're in County Kerry. They know you're in Tralee. They're looking for you. So I got over to New York. They made me up a passport and stuff.
Tell me about the process of going to New York. Getting to the airport, what was it like taking off?
You're obviously you're nervous. I mean, my passport was Henry O'Reilly in County Louth, so I had to put a County Louth accent on it in Dublin anyway, you know, and got on the plane right away. Each inch you're walking up and they're at the passport control and all that there, you think this is it, I'm going to be caught. And then they flew us from Dublin into Shannon, so here I had to go through this again. And then from Shannon over to New York, it was great, like you're in the Atlantic, you're looking down at beautiful Ireland, green Ireland, and we'll ever get home and stuff. It was only be temporary. I only thought I was going over there for I think it was going to be 9 years, but I thought it was going to be just temporary, going over there and come back when things cooled down. And then I arrived in JFK, so you're walking through the airport and they say, what are you here for? I'm here just to see family. So there was a couple of supporters were there, and they were winking to your man, and he winked at me. So obviously we had supporters out at the airport. So that's how I got in, and then get into the car. I'm kind of writing a book about driving across the 5017 bridge. I mean, that's in a Paul Simon Garfunkel song. And the skyscrapers get up into the mist, because this was February 1982. And all the noise of the horns, you know, beep, beep, you know, this is New York City, and I'm driving through it. So I arrived in this apartment in Manhattan, stayed with this couple. They were curtains sort of thing. I said, can I go out for a walk? Yeah, but, you know, stick to the streets and the avenues. Because New York's big, in the 1st Avenue, 2nd Avenue, 3rd Avenue, right up streets, 1st Street, up the 80th Street, 85th Street. So you won't get lost, but I got fucking lost. I end up in Harlem. I was just walking all this.
Where were you staying?
We're staying in mid Manhattan.
Oh, right, so you walk north of
Harlem.
Harlem?
Kind of Richie part of the area, and then you move up to like Sutton, up at, that's where like Al Pacino and all lives. And then I just kept walking and walking and walking and looking up. And then I found that all the buildings were getting smaller and then bigger, and this was Spanish Harlem. And I'm walking around like, you know, there's a wee pub over there, I go to this fucking pub. And a cop car pulls up, white guy, what are you doing here? Only white guy in Harlem. I go, I was going to go in there for a pub, get in there. They put me in the back of the cop car. You a tourist? Yeah. Don't go by 105th Street. You started out the richest real estate in the world, and only 20 blocks away, it's the third world. That's, I mean, politically, you've seen that there. I mean, the richest to the poorest part of America. In Harlem, like, all these towers that went on for like miles and miles, these big housing complexes and stuff like that there.
Tenement buildings?
Tenement buildings and things like that there. I was hanging around, and I got a job in construction, which was fantastic. You know, tough work, up at 5:30, concrete, pouring concrete, working in skyscrapers and things like that there, getting a good wage. Met an Italian girl, American Italian, got an apartment in Brooklyn, and it was the life, you know, going to off-Broadway, trying to get an autograph of Al Pacino one day. Mr. Pacino, I got Tom Hanks. You're meeting all this, like you're in the middle of New York, and you're things you never seen, and going on boat rides and going up to the Catskill Mountains and stuff. Everything was going great. I moved out to New Jersey. That's where the Sopranos all are. So, you know, I remember every time I see a Sopranos, that driving, they're driving. That was my drive home in the New Jersey across the bridge. And me and her got a wee apartment out there. Things were going okay. Got up that morning, going to work.
Tell me this, did she know you as Henry O'Reilly?
Yeah, well, she knew it was something. You knew it was an illegal alien, whatever. But I think she knew, because she was Italian, but she supported. She seen Bobby Sands' photograph when he died in the Daily News, so she joined an Irish organisation. Said, "How got somebody so pretty kill themselves like that?" And so she had a wee bit of politics. It was June 18th, 1983. A Saturday morning, I got up to go into my job. I had a bar job in Manhattan. So I walked 2-3 miles, got the train under the Hudson River, come up, got 2 trains to get up to mid-Manhattan. That's all you had. America's all about travelling. I come up, went into the bar was right open, and cleaned the bar. I got there, the Mexican kids were putting the Mexican food on, everything was great. 3 guys came in, who were coming in every week, but they were the FBI undercover. They wore their tin hats and stuff, you know, the hard hats and stuff. So I knew them. Yeah, and when you're a barman, you know you have to know their drinks. I was 2 backs in the bud. Yeah, Harry. That's what they call me, Harry. So when I bent down to get the thing, the guns come out, cock, freeze. Move your dead. And they jumped over with shotguns and all. So I'm standing on my wee white cape going, right, what am I going? So they put me in the back of the car, took me down to the FBI headquarters downtown. I kept saying it was Harry O'Reilly. Harry, that's who I am. I looking at the wanted photographs and then my fingerprints and stuff like that, so they knew who I was. So I said, we're going to take you over to Metropolitan Correctional Centre, where I was to spend the next 9 years. You have state prisons and city prisons. This is federal prison. Anybody, extradition or conspiracy laws, major mafia, drug dealers. I was taken over there and moved up to 9 South. I was on the 9th floor of this building. It was like Davis Tower, Davis Tower down there. Mm-hmm. That's where I was in prison for 9 years. It was a roof, but you only seen the roof maybe once a month. So it was recycled air. There's no windows in it, wee small windows. It was tinted and stuff. So hey, mate, well, I'm only going to be here a few months. I didn't think it was going to be that long. So they took me up the stairs, put me on lockup, and then they put me on a floor 9 South. That was a high security floor. So this is all anybody that was notorious or infamous or famous, they all went to that floor. You know, one of the first guys I met was a guy called Michael Sedona. He worked for the Pope. He was a Pope's banker. He caught up with the mafia and stuff like that. They were laundering money. He had their other guys who were in the mafia, political prisoners as well. There was a lot of political prisoners. At that particular time, Rudy Giuliani was the prosecutor, and his district attorney, the one who was my prosecutor, was Ira Haseblock. You know, he actually stood up and said, "My name's Ira Haseblock." Everybody got a good laugh. So
Ira as an IRA?
Oh, Ira Haseblock, and that was the funniest thing ever happened.
I seen that now, but I thought that was it. Was that actually?
No, that was his name. No, he stood up when I was on trial or the hearing. He says, "Suppose you all get your law, but my name is Ira Haseblock."
Unbelievable.
Ira Haseblock. So when I got arrested, I was arrested under an extradition warrant. Now, America has 95 extradition warrants, and each of them have a political exemption clause. Goes way back to the revolutionary days, Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. Then anybody who was fighting against kingdoms and stuff in Europe, if they came to America, if it was a political offence, then you could be held. You could be supported and stuff like that. So I evoked the political exemption to say that the conflict here was a political conflict that had a political outcome, and that was the freedom of Ireland. The battle within the federal court is we had to prove that we were political in nature, that the act I was involved in, the shootout and the escape, was a part of a political struggle, and the outcome of that struggle was freedom. They had to argue the opposite of that it was crime, that we were a part of an enterprise, we weren't an army, we had no political outcome of this. It was just crime for crime's sake, violence for violence sake. So the judge allowed us to bring witnesses over. So we brought Dr. Sean McBride, who was a Nobel Prize winner, who in fact was in the IRA himself. His father was executed by the British in 1916. He was the founder of Amnesty International. So he came in and said, although I don't agree with the IRA, I don't agree with the violence, it is a political struggle. Then we had Tim Pat Coogan. He was a writer who wrote a book on the IRA. So he was saying that the IRA has structures, as an army council, has a constitution, has all these laws, they have conventions and stuff. They're trying to show that we're not like direct action or the Red Army in Italy, like a group of students just blowing up things for the sake of it. That this structure had gone back to 1914, and it was an ongoing struggle. We had Bernadette Devlin over and Father Dales Wilson to talk about the civil rights, to why young men like Joe Doherty got involved in that. And we had all the evidence to that it was a political struggle, that we just didn't drop out of a tree with an AK-47 starting to kill British soldiers, that there was a history to that, the history to the Irish Republican Army, the struggles, 1920, the 40s, the 50s and 60s campaign, the internment, the injustices, Bloody Sunday. We brought all that into it. Now this judge was a Republican judge, not our Republican now, the American Republican. He was nominated by Ronald Reagan, who was an ultra-conservative. So he was a conservative. We didn't think we had a chance, but he listened to the argument. And then the following year, 1984, he rendered a decision that the actions I was involved in were political in nature. And that was it. Now, everything went pear-shaped then. Maggie Thatcher, who was the Prime Minister at that particular time, phoned Ronald Reagan and saying, "What is your court doing? This man's a terrorist, he should be sent back. Why did your court do it?" Now Reagan went to his Justice Department. "No lad up here, we want him back." Now they appealed the decision, and they appealed it, and they appealed it, and they lost, and they lost, and they lost. And that stretched out to 9 years. So in fact, I was held that 9 years without ever being charged with an offence.
Were you held with that whole 9 years?
I was held the 9 years. I was no. I was
You didn't
never.
get bail?
I was never charged with anything. Never charged.
But I didn't
with
realise you were held for the 9 years. Yeah.
For 9 years. And in that process, in the lower court decision, that went all the way up. And then it went to immigration, and we applied for political asylum. And that was appealed, and we won. We won 14 times in the whole federal system. That stretched out right up until February 1982. That's when the decision went to the United States Supreme Court. That's the biggest court in the land. And they rendered a decision that the prosecutor, the Attorney General, had the right of discretion. And we were going, hold on, you're the prosecutor. Now the courts are giving him permission. So he says back. So that's when he sent me back in February 1982.
Some extraordinary stories of the cellmates that shared the cells. You're talking period here where you have the RICO campaign against the mafia.
Yeah.
And you shared cells with John Gotti.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about some of that.
Well, that was the RICO Act. That's the Racketeering Institutional Criminal Organisation. It's if you commit more than 5 crimes, with more than 5 people, and more than 5 times. That's well, they say that's a conspiracy. You only have to prove 1 or 2, and the rest are predicate acts. It's a loosely used it. And they brought it in to get the mafia, but they use it in Wall Street. They use it everywhere now. The RICO used everywhere. So that's when they got what's known as the Crime Commission. That was the Mafia Commission. I was like the head of the 5 families, And I was actually in the cell back, but all the head of the 5 families. Castellano, Michael Sedona, Fat Tony, Rostelli, they were all there with me. I was the screws, or the hacks we call them more, but the screws, they used to call me Tom Hagen. I'm like the Irish consigliere to the mafia, because I was
Tom Hagen and a Godfather.
Oh, and a Godfather, because I used to run around. I used to get their visits sorted out. They say, "Oh, get the Irishman up, he'll help you." So a capo would come in, and I would show them how to put it. You have to write in your visits, and when you get your visits, or getting your commissary, your money in. And of course, I knew a wee bit about law, so I knew the RICO law. So they would give me their depositions. Could you read? I was like a lawyer in there, reading their depositions. Not just the mafia, there was Colombians were in there, the Colombians, so they were charged with 848. That's the drug conspiracy law, so I'm getting them up. Oh, you're fucked here. 25 pounds of heroin in your car.
And what was the relationship like between the Italian mafia and the Colombian mafia? Was there some friction there? Or?
No, no friction at all. Everybody got on. Well, it was the Irish mafia as well. I was in there with the Westies. That was a gang go back to the 1920s. That was when I was there. Like that was
Hell's Kitchen.
Hell's Kitchen. That's Jimmy Coonan and Kevin Kelly and Kenny Shannon. They were on with me. One of them, Coonan was my cell partners. There was films made about them and stuff like that there. They were there for a short while. They got wiped out. That was the end. Hell's Kitchen got knocked down. It's Chelsea, they call it. It's a yuppie land. Then they got there.
Gentrified now.
Gentrified, and they got there. Then you had the black gangs. You had the character Frank Lucas.
And Frank Lucas then that was in the film American Gangster.
Gangster.
But you had there was a TV series about Harlem that there was an underling. Was that Bumpy Johnson?
That was Bumpy Johnson. Well, Bumpy goes back to he was long dead before I got over there. Frank Lucas was his underboss, but he ended up, he was a snitch anyway. Well, it was in the film. All the kind of characters, the mob was there. John Gotti, I thought he was the most interesting person I ever met in my life. He was like a big star to me. He was just friendly and smart. He used to come in and take all even the political books and all. He was he knew his politics more than the rest of them and stuff. And of course, there was all the politicals there. We had the Black Panthers. We had the Nation of Islam and the Black Liberation Army. Then you had these other people that were involved with the weathermen. That was like the students turned to the conflict in the 1960s and 70s. So the remnants of them, they were mostly white, like Marxist Landis. So they tried to. I was honest with him. I don't really believe in your struggle. They were trying to overthrow the United States government. I thought it was a wee bit ridiculous, to tell you the truth. Their ideals was great. They wanted freedom, anti-imperialists, against the Vietnam War, of course, and back in the days. Then, at that particular time, all the death squads were happening in Nicaragua and El Salvador. So they were out bombing the military barracks all around the United States and stuff like that there. I just didn't think their end goal was going to be successful. And they were all very bright. They were intellects. They were from universities and stuff. I thought they'd be better put maybe organising labour coalitions and rather around bombing. But they all come into jail and they're all probably still there. A lot of them have died in those prisons and stuff like that there. So you had a mixture of all these different characters in the jail.
Tell me a bit more about Gotti. He came to get some of your books. Was he interested in Irish history?
I'm going to tell you funny. It's going to be a long story and it's really good. On the cell doors, our doors is vertical. You're allowed to put a bit of paper in there like a cardboard, because if you want to take out your number 2s, you're allowed to put that down. So you could do that so nobody's looking in, you sitting there in the toilet. So I painted mine green, white and orange. So the next thing you know, the Puerto Ricans and the Colombians, could you make my flag? Oh, show me the Colombian flags. Next thing you know, all around the cells was all these flags. So John Gotti came in to me and said, can you do a flag? I said, no problem, sir, tricolour, American, Italian flags, red.
Green, white and
He said,
red.
no, I want an Iraqi flag. I says, what? I want an Iraqi flag. Can you do one? He said, what for? Can you do me one? I mean, all right, I'll do you one. So I did it. What do you want it for? You put it in the door. So I'm down at the flats in the bottom of the cell block. All the hacks or screws are there, a couple of lieutenants. So they pulled me in and says, why did you make him an Iraqi flag? I said, he asked me to do that. What do you want me to do? He said, go up and tell him to take it down. I'm not fucking telling him, you go and tell him. And the first Iraq war was on. All the hacks, the correctional officers, they were all in Vietnam, so they were all vets, and they were cheering on the war in Iraq, and Gotti hated that. So he did it for badness as a protest. So I went up and I said, John, I said, there will be a bit peed at you have this Iraqi flag up on it. Was that fucking right? So he walked down that waddle of his, and he looked over, and they're all standing there, about 12 of them, all blacks. He says, the greatest American ever lived was Muhammad Ali. And I'm going, wow. And I'm looking there, and they're looking up like, here's a mafia boss, the greatest American is a black man called Muhammad Ali. He said, do you want to know why? He was a great fighter, but he was a great human being. And know what he said outside the courthouse? Because he refused to go to Vietnam. I'm not going 18,000 miles to kill all our poor coloured folk. He said he was sitting with 5 years in prison, took his belts away, and they all looked back, all they got there. He said, but all you fuckers did, didn't you? And they all went, I got, burned villages, he's executed people, he's raped, he's bombed fucking people's cities over there. Now that Iraq war's on, you're cheering it on again. So now you want your kids from Harlem to go over there for freedom. It's not freedom, it's about oil. They're going over there for the oil, they're not going over for any kind of freedom. And you're standing at TV cheering on George Bush, President Bush. And for what? I seen kids from my neighbourhood go to Vietnam, not come back in wheelchair, and so did yous. You should know fucking about it, and walked away. And I went, oh, John, you really like, wow, that was some statement. Like, I mean, that was great the way he said it. And then he tore the Iraqi flag up.
Some story.
He says, this government here, the most corrupt government in the world, see the World Bank, the Bank of America, they're the loan sharks. They call me a loan shark. They're the loan sharks. They talk about racketeering. They're the biggest racketeers. Latin America is the most resourceful continent in the world. Everything, fruit, zinc, iron, oil. Why is it so poor? Because this country keeps it poor. They keep it poor because they take all the resources, all the money out, and if you protest it, he says, there's a guy called Allende. Do you know who he is? I mean, yeah, John Allende, he was a Prime Minister of Chile. Yeah, well, this guy Pinochet, he was the button man for the American government, killed 10,000 students, murdered them, because they wanted not to nationalise the fruit and the coal. Allende just wanted to get money back in for schools, for housing. He wasn't a communist, he was a socialist. And they took him out and killed the guy there. And they called me a racketeer. They called me a murderer. He said, show me in my RICO indictment where I took students away and tortured them with electric shocks. Tell me where I took a priest and nuns and executed them. Show me that there. He says, I walk in that court, I got my head high, who I am. I always had respect for that, always had. Well,
It's extraordinary that he was so politically astute with regards to Latin American politics and
well, he knew
American hegemony, you know.
Yeah, well, he's come in to sell. He come in and take. He didn't learn because of my books, but he came in and pick out. You know, I'll give me that book, or I'll read that. I'll bring it back to you tomorrow night and stuff, you know. And he was smart, you know.
Well, moving on, your extradition eventually happened.
Yeah.
What was that like coming home for the first time in many years?
So the Supreme Court rendered a decision in February 1982 that I was to be sent back. After 9 years of not being winning all my cases, I finally got and it was a political decision because George Bush he took over from Ronald Reagan as the president. He promised Thatcher, I'll get him back no matter what. So there was pressure put in the Supreme Court. So February I was sent back. I was moved to Lewisburg Penitentiary in Penn State. 4 o'clock in the morning, get up, had the shackles on, put me in the back of a car, drove me through Harrisburg, about 9-hour drive up through, I didn't know where I was going, they wouldn't tell me. I seen the dome of Washington, so I knew it was in Washington DC. I went to Andrews Air Force Base, put on a plane, it was a special jet set up for me, like a Lear jet type of thing. You know, these guys with sergeant stripes bringing around tea and all that. And I sat on there, I said, where am I going? I can't tell you, we don't know. We don't know. It says, the marshals always move it, US Marshals. And then we flew up the Maine, which is the Canadian border. And that's the heard ETA, England. So they flew me right across the Atlantic.
Is this a cargo plane or a passenger plane?
No, it was a special plane. It was
special.
like, belonged to the Air Chief Marshals or something. It was a military plane, like a Lear jet.
Right.
It's like a 20-seater. And we landed in Gatwick Airport in London. I mean, what the fuck am I doing in London? And next thing you know, the RUC come on, see Dempsey. I think he was the assistant constable of the RUC at the end. He come on, and the marshal says, we're handing him over you. Is he going to be okay? No, we're not going to touch him. I said, well, we're just making sure he's going to be okay. He's no bruises on him and all that. So they took me down the steps of the plane and across, and they put me on an Islander, which is like a Volkswagen with propellers. The RUC just bought it. So we're in this thing here, rocking up and down over the RUC with me and these three cops, three branchmen. They had all the books, Dillon's books, Martin Dillon. He wrote a book about me called Killer in Clowntown, full of nonsense. And they wanted me to autograph us in the plane. I said, no.
So you see, man?
Oh, yeah, big box of books. And I said, do us a favour, Joe, could you sign these books for the boys back in Castlereagh?
What did you say?
I says no, and they give me chocolate.
I don't think he just said no now, Joe.
No, I just said fuck out. No, he said something and it was a bit sexual or something. He said it was something like that there I didn't like. Plus he didn't ask me for permission and all, and he stole the transcript from the courts and he just wrote a book around it and he tried to make me a liar and stuff like that.
Embellished a lot of it.
Well, I embellished, yeah. Well, he just wrote, you think he was sitting in the room he actually asked to do the interview with me to do the book, and I said no. I checked back in Dublin and I said don't trust him and stuff like that there. I went to school with Barney and all that kind of crap. I said no. So they wanted me to sign that. And then I arrived in the airport in Belfast, taken the Crumlin Road jail, and brought me in. It was all shackles and stuff. It's real strange. You're 9 years in an American prison with correctional officers and sergeants and captains, and then you're brought back with screws. Or we saw me from the shankle. They were real funny and all. And I said, hey kid, I bet you miss a big jam sandwich. I'm going to make you a jam sandwich. 4:30 in the morning, fuck. A jam sandwich, great. I'm all the way back here for a jam. And he made me a jam sandwich and an aspirin. Put me in the annex about 4:30 in the morning. Stayed in the Crumb for 4 or 5 weeks. For some reason, they kept me there. Then I was moved down to Hades Blocks, and that was an experience because I was in long case for many, many years, and the Hades Blocks was across the wall. But actually, being in the Hades Blocks I felt very sentimental towards it. Actually, it was really funny. I got up at night. I threw my mattress on the ground and got a blanket and lay and get emotional like that there because. Met Brendan McFarlane there, and he said, yeah, Bobby's cell was here and Francis' cell was there, and I'm like, in the cell you were in, Patsy O'Hara was in or something. So I knew history was in the cell. These lads had died in hunger strike, and I got very emotional about it, threw the mattress on the ground, got the blanket, you know, and supportive. I don't know why I did it, just thought I would do it. Then I got up in the morning and talked to all the boys, just got my head down to do time. Got a university degree, all accreditations and stuff, all over those years, you know. It's a bit boring, to tell you the truth, because you're coming from a culture of 100 different nationalities. In the jail, I come back to everybody's the same colour hair.
Well, I wouldn't say it's boring. No, definitely not. There's not any of what you've just told us.
No. What I meant, you're so used to the multicultural.
Yeah.
Now you're back to one culture, and it was like, you know, everybody's the same, but they're all comrades and stuff.
It must have been very emotional coming back. It's for the first time. I mean, you know, you're in the H-blocks here after the whole journey that you have made throughout your fourth time.
Yeah.
And you're in the H-blocks where men who've been there for many years too.
Yeah. Well, like Bick was there, and many of our comrades and stuff. You know, people who you grew up with, in the New Lodge, Kevin McCormick and Mickey Collins. They came into my cell the first day I was there and brought me fruit in and chocolate and different things and talking. I had the really worst American accent. I had an American accent. So it was kind of like, "Hi guys, good to be back here, man. Good to be back." And like, they were going, "Jesus Christ, you gotta get rid of it." "Yeah, I'll get rid of it, man," you know. And I was saying things like cookie jar and, you know, in a garbage can. "Where's my garbage can?" And they said, "You gotta stop that." And French fries. I remember they threw me in a cold bath. Said, "We hear you say anything more." So I didn't say anything. And then the food truck come in and somebody said, "What's in the food truck?" No, at the end of his block. I said, "Oh, I got some meat here and I got French fries." So they all ran out of cells and threw me in the water. They had to get rid of that habit of drugstore, and I still say things like that, you know. So it was like, it was good learning, and it was coming to the point of we were hearing things about the negotiations going on and things about meetings here, meetings there. There might be an end to the conflict. This was my third ceasefire, and you weren't really optimistic about it like that there. But the movement had changed, because when I grew up within the army was the army. Sinn Féin was just they put up posters around the door, and I couldn't believe it when I come back. That we had people in the city councils right across, from Derry to Belfast to Newry to Armagh, and the whole kind of the whole politics had changed. I know Donny Martin hates the whole thing about the ballot box in the army, but it was right. And when I come back, I was totally impressed. You know, we had people in city council, that we were structured well. I think we needed that. We needed that because the last two ceasefires that I was involved in, we didn't have a political backdrop. I mean, we didn't have a cushion of a political party. Now we had a party. Now we were moving forward, and now we can make the courageous decision to end the war. Now that was difficult at the time, because I was all for it. There were individuals within his block saying, "No, we can't go into. We have to fight this to the very, very end until they declare, you know, that their intent to leave within 5 years." That was the old demand. You just have to state that you're leaving before we end the war. But things had changed. Politics had taken over. There was, was dialectics going on. People discussing things like that there. Very, very touchy, particularly we were talking about we need to end the war, because that was seen as being defeatist and stuff. So we went through all that. It was great. It was a great experiment in kind of trying to understand where we had to go. And then Martin McGuinness come up and got us all down to the gymnasium, all the army, to talk about this is where we need to go, lads. What do you think? And we gave it the movement support. And the Good Friday come in. I remember reading the Good Friday Agreement, and I tore it up, threw it in the bin. I just after doing 22 years, and we're going to be sitting and storming. So I was angry about it. We were all angry. Then, like a Pat Sheehan come in and other people come in and saying, "You got to get your head right. Where else to be?" I knew it was the right thing to do. It was the only thing to do. But it was still like reading it. It was tough, you know, because I didn't join up the sitting storming. I didn't join up the getting the partnership with the British and stuff. But it was necessary. And McGuinness and Adams, they were smart people, and the trust that we had in them was the only way forward. I was finally released in November 1998. Most people had got out. We were down to the last 50, 60 prisoners, political prisoners, and I got out. And you know, driving down the motorway, finally getting to the New Lodge and getting out, my mother and father there, and they had banners up, welcome home Joe, and all this entire yellow ribbon around the old oak tree and things like that there. It's really great to be home. And then since that, I got involved in politics right away, of course. Thank God it was in the army, because I didn't want to go back into jail. So then days is over. But I got involved in ex-prisoners projects like Tara Shock and Lloyd Stewart, welfare rights, local memorial committee. I was very, I had a university degree and I had all sorts of accreditations. So I went to Queen's University to do youth work, qualifications. So I work with a lot of young people. I did a lot of inter-community work, actually working with loyalist ex-prisoners. And we would go out and talk to kids within our community and their community, talking about our experience, because the last thing we wanted was kids to join up. Because I remember, when I look back to the kids I worked with in the New Lodge, when I got out, they were 14, 15, I looked at them and went, Jesus Christ, they're children. I was his age, learning how to strip an M1 carbine, how to do mercury switches. Like we were children ourselves. Yeah. So I was glad that wasn't going to happen. And so we did a lot of talk with kids in our own communities in relation to the dissidents and stuff like that there. It's not the way to go down. This is, yeah, you're going to end up dead. You're going to go into prison and they got there. I says, in my day, I said, we were a product of what was seriously wrong. And we tried to resolve it, probably through an armed struggle. We have a political struggle now. You've got your rights now. We're going to struggle through politics to get more rights until we eventually get a united Ireland. That's going to come through politics. I got there. And I've been doing that work right up, and even till last week, taking your people up to the jail, doing talks, doing tours, talking about our struggle, talking about the political struggle, talking about eventually, I think in my lifetime there, that we're going to see a united Ireland. Spending 23 and a half years in jail is certainly what I sacrificed, and I'm very, very proud of that.
Well, Joe, on that, it's been an extraordinary conversation. The first time we've actually had to have two parts, and well, so because we've needed it. I think the audience is going to agree with me. I'm really looking forward to the book. When do you think the book's going to be released?
I don't know. It's about 29 chapters. Just got a blockers. Just had a block on it, writer's block. So.
Well, I'm looking forward to that when it's released, and it's always good to see you.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. And that does it for another week. We'd love for you to join the conversation by sharing the link to today's programme to help us grow our audience across all our social media platforms. I'd like to thank my special guest, Joe Doherty. In the meantime, the conversation will be back next week with more investigations and analysis. I'm Sean Murray. Bye for now.